You can read him on Sports Illustrated, formerly the New York Times, LA Times. Howard, how you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine, but the Warriors are in a little different predicament. I was going to run down all their issues or supposed issues with Clay, but you're obviously familiar with them, and I guess my question is: they're 6-9. Their goal is to win back-to-back titles. Like, how long do you give this before you start thinking about maybe having to do something?
I guess the question is, do what? How long do you wait before doing what? Because there are some, minor moves, and then there are some more drastic moves, and then there are some really dramatic, very painful moves. And so I guess it depends, Matt, on which level you're talking about here.
Let's say they get close to 500 and they want to quote-unquote go for it, and they make their young players available for a veteran they think that can play in the postseason.
So I have said since the moment that things went awry in 2019 in the finals, Durant goes down, Clay goes down, Durant leaves, I have been fairly consistent, although I wavered a little last season, as I think many of us did, on this premise, that is, there's only now and there is no future. Long before we were all talking about and writing about the two-timeline, dual-track thing, I was in the camp of you don't mess around when you have a guy like Steph Curry, even before those picks became Kuminga and Moody, before the pick became Weissman, and then when the pick did become Weissman, and even before Weissman had his bumpy rookie year, I was saying all along, trade the young guys, trade the picks. This isn't about 2028. This is about today and maximizing Steph Curry's career. So I still believe that. And last season, I think, lulled a lot of us and lulled the Warriors into believing that they could somehow pull off the impossible and plan for the future while still contending for championships in the present because, hey, they did it. They won a championship while doing both things. But as of right now, things are hanging by, I don't want to say a thread just yet. It's a little early for that expression, I guess. But things are I think shaky enough that you start there, right? Like the first thing you do isn't say, we're going to make Clay a sixth man, or we're going to try to trade Clay. I don't know if you could even trade him. Or we're going to trade Draymond. Again, don't know what you could get for Draymond. You're not breaking up the core yet.
Right.
But trading the young guys, I think has to be on the table probably right now.
Wow. Howard, let me share something that's in my heart, and I'm catching a lot of heat from fans here. And it's the Jordan Poole, Draymond Green dynamic. One of the staples of this Warriors team, Howard, has been strength in numbers. You sit down, you get your popcorn, you watch the game with your family. You could tell that there was unity, cohesiveness. Guys were having fun. The bench was ML cars all around. And all of a sudden, Howard, I watch now, and it looks like just like a funeral feelings, like something's off. And if I hear another ex-player tell me, fights happened all the time, guys got dropped left and right. Well, you know what? It wasn't on video. Am I off basis by saying I think something is still going on with Dre and Poole and the team on how it was handled? And now Jordan Poole, Howard, he doesn't even look like Jordan Poole of last year. What do you say to that?
Well, we can't get in their heads, and we can't get in the locker room or the practice facility, although somebody obviously did tape something at the practice facility and then leaked it, but that's neither here nor there. Without anybody telling us what exactly is going on a day-to-day basis when none of us can see it, I just think it's impossible for us to know, and it's fair for us to speculate and wonder, and the Warriors themselves may be wondering just how much damage was done to their, team psyche, to their camaraderie, their esprit de corps, if you want to use that expression, that it's hard to know. I don't think look, they did not downplay it from the beginning. Steve Kerr said it was like the biggest challenge or the biggest crisis that they'd faced in his time there. And, weeks later, you would hope that they could get past it. But if they're struggling as a team, it's fair to wonder how much that is still impacting, whether it's just the two principals involved, whether it's the whole team. But I think a lot of this, if that had never happened or if we hadn't known about it, you could still look at this and say, well, look, it's fair to think that Jordan Poole could be struggling because last year was a breakout year, and sometimes guys, go into a little bit of not a slump, but it's almost like a sophomore slump, right? Like he's not a sophomore, but that last year was his breakout year. Now much more is expected. Now he has signed a massive extension, and more is expected. And sometimes guys struggle with that, and he's still a young player. The other guys are all really young, and they were trying to accelerate them into roles that maybe they weren't ready for yet when they decided to let all the veterans walk and turn over the second unit to all their youth. Maybe they're just not ready yet. And, look, Weissman in particular, Weissman's played 50 games. Like he hasn't even played a full NBA season. He's practically still a rookie in the middle of a rookie year by any measure of actual playing time. So all of these things could be happening had the punch never happened, is my point.
Right. Howard Beck joining us, Sports Illustrated, longtime NBA writer. So I'm just looking at the standings. I'm not saying anything's imminent, but I'm keeping an eye on Brooklyn, and I'm keeping an eye on the Lakers, and then I'm thinking, I wonder what would happen if the Warriors keep losing. I guess my question is this. If Brooklyn starts struggling, did Durant and Kyrie become available? If the Lakers start playing if the Lakers aren't going anywhere, does Anthony Davis and LeBron James get talked about? With the Warriors, we could go Draymond and Clay. Miami's a team that's starting to win now, but if they fell off, what are you looking at in terms of names maybe coming available?
It's too soon to know, but I mean, look, I wrote a couple weeks ago that the Nets should blow it up, and then they, went on a kind of a winning streak without Kyrie. Kyrie's coming back on Sunday. We'll see how that affects the chemistry that is built in his absence. But Ben Simmons looks like he's starting to come around, had a nice game last night. I still believe they should be blown up anyway because I don't think the Nets have any chance at winning the title. And once this season's over, it's over because they're not re-signing Kyrie Irving.
Right.
Under no circumstances are the Brooklyn Nets re-signing Kyrie Irving. So you might as well get something for him now. So that's the one guy who I think logic dictates that you should be making him available no matter what Kevin Durant may or may not want. Like, this thing is coming to an end in terms of that partnership. Durant may stay, or maybe he asks out next summer after Kyrie walks, but they're not re-signing Kyrie Irving. Like, I am confident in predicting that, if nothing else. But the Nets seem to be in the position of, we're just going to hold this together as long as possible, keep our fingers crossed, hope for the best, and see if we can still somehow make a deep playoff run with this very, I don't know how you would describe it, but it's a very shaky big three with Durant, Simmons, and Kyrie. And then, the rest of it, look, like the Lakers are dead in the water. But the fact is, there's a team that's been in denial for some time now, right?
Right.
They won't trade Westbrook in the picks. They're waiting for something to fall out of the sky to help them. They can't trade LeBron because he just signed the extension. I don't think they'll trade Anthony Davis because they're just afraid of messing with this core. And I think they're paralyzed, frankly.
Wow.
Howard, this is kind of a random question, but there's an old adage, less is more. And I was telling my partner, I hate the play-in inception. I don't know why they do it, but I know it's early on in the season, and I'm looking at the 10th seed. Does Howard Beck, have you been a fan of the play-in game? Has that worked for the NBA in your thoughts?
The play-in has been, I'm sorry to tell you this, an absolute home run for the NBA. There is no downside. It has forced teams that were otherwise going to pull the plug in late February, early March, to now keep competitive, because if you're in shouting distance of the 10th spot, your fans and your ownership and everybody expect that you're going to still compete. So teams that were playing meaningless games in the past now have to actually try, which is making for a more meaningful back end of the NBA schedule. So those late March and early April games are a lot better as a result. There are fan bases that are more engaged as a result. It's giving teams more incentive even to try to get to the 6th seed and get out of the 7-8 spot so that they can avoid the play-in. So it's had a good effect all the way throughout, and it is a bit of an anti-tanking measure. It's been nothing but a success for the league.
Hey, Howard, thanks as always. Really appreciate it, man, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks, guys. You too.
All right, Howard Beck, Sports Illustrated.